everybody, Michelle from Stokes here. Hope everyone is staying healthy and well out there. I'm sorry I can't join you in person. So today I'm here to talk to you about some of my favorite animals, which are birds. I hope you all love birds as much as me. So in particular today we're going to be exploring different bird adaptations. So an adaptation, for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, it can be a body part or a behavior that any animal has that helps them to survive in their habitat or their home, wherever that may be. So even us humans, we have a lot of unique adaptations ourselves. So think about yourselves. Probably one of our biggest adaptations is our large brains. We're very smart, able to think and build tools and adapt using those brains. Another one we have is our opposable thumbs. These thumbs that move, let us text, hold things. We're able to use those every day. So another very useful adaptation. And so if you think about birds, birds come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and colors. And whatever bird it is, they have adaptations to help them survive in their habitat as well. So to start off our little mini lesson today, I want you to think about a bird and picture it in your head. So this could be your favorite bird if you have one, or it could be a bird that you've just seen recently. So picture in your head your bird. Think about, is it a small bird? Is it a large bird? What shape is it? What colors are it? Is it kind of a dull brown color? Are they brightly colored? Think about its beak. Does it have a long beak or a short beak? What about its feet? What kind of feet does it have? Does it have webbed feet or sharp talons? So think about all these things that your bird has and how that might help it to survive or adapt to its habitat. So I want to share with you today 3 of my favorite birds and explore some of their adaptations. And then we'll also look at some other fun artifacts I have today and talk about some bird behaviors and adaptations. So to start out with, we're going to look at some of the physical body parts that some birds have that can help them to survive in their environment or their habitat. So to start out with, I am going to start with, if I can find my pictures, we're going to start out with this fella right here. So hopefully as I show you these pictures, you might recognize some of these birds. These are all birds native to Cache Valley. This is a great blue heron. A very tall, large bird of long legs. You can see he's got a fish in his mouth. So great blue herons, you'll find them along riverbanks, streams, lakes, anywhere there's water. They're pretty common around here. So one of the first adaptations we'll look at is its beak. So I have here a model of a great blue heron's skull and beak. You can see he's got a very long beak. Alright, so that helps him as he's wading through that water. That long beak helps him to fill through the water and the mud to fill for those fish he likes to eat. It's also kind of very sharp and spear-like, so he can spear those fish. Alright, you notice in the photo he's got very long legs, and those legs help him to keep his feathers dry as he's wading. He's also got, this is a model foot, so he's got very long toes, and those long toes help kind of spread apart and keep him from sinking in the mud. Alright, let's see, the last artifact I have from a great blue heron here is a feather. So great blue herons, being such large birds, actually need pretty wide feathers to get their big bodies off the ground, so they have pretty large, wide feathers to help them to fly. Alright, so that's our great blue heron. We're going to go on to another bird. Alright, so this is called northern pintail. It's a type of duck. You can see we've got a male and female there. So you can see the male, you see right here. The female is more that mottled brown color. So these guys are a pretty common duck, and they like to eat aquatic plants and seeds, aquatic animals. So if we look at our pintail artifacts, first off, we look at its beak. Alright, pretty standard duck beak. So the really cool thing about ducks, they have soft edges of their beaks. I'm going to hold this really close and you can kind of see these ridged comb-like structures along their beak. So right along there, kind of looks like a comb. Those are called lamellae. Now those help filter the mud out, so as they're kind of ingesting and trying to get those plant seeds and insects, that filters the mud out so that they don't actually have to eat the mud, because that wouldn't be very tasty. Alright, Excuse me, I'm throwing stuff on the floor. Alrighty. So if we look at next, a pintail foot. They've got webbed feet, being ducks, and they need to be able to swim, so that webbing is going to help them to push a lot of water, to be able to swim and maneuver in the water. And then if we look at, this is a pintail feather. So pintails, being aquatic and in the water all the time, they need to stay dry. So the cool thing about pretty much all ducks, they're going to secrete oil, rub that all over their feathers. That makes them able to dry off really quickly. So as they're diving down in the water, they're getting wet, and it's going to just drop off. So if you've ever tried maybe dropping oil just in water, you'll see it kind of separates. So water is repelled by oil. They don't like each other, and so that oil on their feathers helps them to stay dry. Alrighty. So the next bird I'm going to show you some body parts of. This is an osprey. So we do have ospreys around them here. If you ever have a chance to go out to Benson Marina, there's an osprey nest up there on one of the telephone poles, pretty large nest. So these guys are birds of prey, meaning similar to hawks, eagles, owls are all birds of prey, or raptors you might hear them called. So they all are going to have sharp beaks and talons because they're meat eaters. So osprey. Look at our osprey skull. It's got a sharp hooked beak. It's going to help them to tear and rip that meat apart. Now in particular, osprey like to eat fish. If we look at osprey foot, these would be very sharp talons to help them grip that fish. You'll also notice this foot's very bumpy. If I had a real osprey here to show you its foot, they also have kind of barb-like scales, so little teeny kind of barbs, if you think of barbed wire. It's going to dig into that fish and help them hold on to it. Fish are very slippery. They're going to slip out of their feet very easily without those claws and those kind of barb-like scales that help them hang on to those slippery fish they love to eat. Now if we look at an osprey feather, all right, ospreys are pretty unique among birds of prey. They're one of the only birds of prey, at least that I know of, that actually uses oil the same way that the pintail does. Because they eat fish, they're very good at diving down in the water. Sometimes they go completely under the water as they look for fish as they dive down. And so the oil keeps them dry, and again also helps them stay light enough to fly. If they get soaked with water, they're going to be too heavy to fly. Now one thing I forgot to tell you back about our great blue heron, another kind of cool trait about its feathers, where the great blue heron was that big tall bird. They have kind of these shaggy feathers that hang from their chest, and they actually use those feathers kind of as a washcloth. So they'll wipe their feet, their beak, when they get slime and stuff on the beak and those feet. They'll wipe it off on their chest like a built-in washcloth. So those are some pretty cool body parts, those beaks, feet, and feathers, that help those three birds to survive in their habitat. So those are adaptations. So from here we're going to move on and we're going to look at some behaviors that or adaptations birds have to help them survive. In particular, with spring right around the corner, I've been thinking about eggs and nests. So we're almost to the time of year here in another month or two, getting into April and May. Birds are going to start laying eggs and nesting. So the type of nest they have helps protect their eggs, also the color of their eggs, and they'll also have behaviors. So I have some different eggs here. You can see they come in all different sizes and shapes. Most of these eggs are kind of brownish cream colors that would blend in really well with grasses or twigs. So this is a swan egg. This is from a mute swan. So these aren't a native, but you'll see them a lot in people's ponds or maybe at the zoo. So they're a pretty large swan. We have a red-tailed hawk egg. Kind of a funny looking egg. It almost looks like it's like somebody just drew on it with a marker. Okay, so they nest fairly high up in the trees. Any sort of bird of prey, whether it's an osprey or an eagle, they can use that sharp beak like we saw in our osprey and those talons to be able to actively protect the nest against predators. We've got, this is a barn owl egg. It's just a plain kind of cream colored egg. This one right here, this is a wild turkey egg. So these guys nest on the ground, oftentimes in grasses or under shrubs, So you can see that's going to camouflage or blend in pretty well. And this little guy right here, this is a western meadowlark. Again, kind of like the turkey, these guys like to nest in tall grasses. You can see how that egg would probably blend in and hide pretty well in the grass. So if we talk about some of the behaviors that these birds might have to protect them, I mentioned the raptors actively can protect with those sharp talons and beak. You get birds that might dive bomb you. So if you're ever outside and maybe a starling or a robin, what they'll do is they just dive down out of the sky and come right at you, trying to get you to stay away from their nest and their eggs. Some birds will go so far as to pretend they're injured and try and lead you away from their nest. So we think about predators of bird eggs. You guys like to eat eggs, right? Lots of animals love to eat eggs, so it could be other birds, it could be raccoons or foxes. In particular, those birds that nest down on the ground really have to work hard sometimes to protect their eggs. So that's where our meadowlark and turkey come in, being so camouflage. They're going to be really hard to find. But if a predator, maybe it's a fox, does happen to find their eggs, they might have something else they can do. So after this video, you will be able, in the links I sent you, there'll be a link to watch a video of a killdeer. So killdeer is a bird that we have around here, and they have a behavior that they will pretend they've got an injured wing. So if somebody stumbles upon a killdeer nest, the mama, she'll start running away from the nest and kind of limping and flapping her wing like it's hurt or broken. And if you're a fox or a coyote or something and there's an injured bird, that's going to look like a pretty easy meal, easy dinner. And so you're going to try and follow that bird, and she's going to lead you away from the nest even though she really isn't injured. She'll pretend to be. So you can watch a video of an actual killdeer and see what that looks like. It's pretty neat to see. Moving on to look at some of their nests. So typically we think of birds, we think of nests that just sit in the tree, kind of like these two nests. So lots of different species of birds. We'll call them songbirds. So those are the little birds that you see up in the tree, probably at your backyard feeders. Robins and goldfinches and sparrows, things like that. They're going to build a nest kind of like this, and that kind of sit in the trees. So they may use, we've got some grasses and sticks and twigs. They may pick up stuff that we leave behind. This one's got, you can see some red string, some bits of maybe paper insulation in there that they found to kind of cushion that nest. So all the nests I'll show you today, they have what we call a cup-like structure. So you can see it kind of looks like a cup or a dish. Some of them might kind of hang from the side of a limb, like this guy. It's just a little nest hanging there. So hummingbirds kind of do this. Their nest would be even smaller than this. And the last nest that I have to show you today, we'll see we've got the same shape, kind of different materials. This is from a swallow. So swallows use mud. That mud acts as a glue. It's going to hold the nest together. And then they'll kind of mount these nests on the side of sometimes your house. If you like to go canoeing, you'll see them under bridges a lot of times. So this is our swallow nest. I do have a picture. These are some swallows. You can see they've built those mud nests right on the side of a cliff. And I said it could also be a building or your house. These swallows like to nest on. So some other nest structures you might see. So birds like the osprey we talked about, also bald eagles. They're what we call platform nesters. So they'll build really large nests really high up. So like I said, if you get a chance to go out to Benson Marina, there's a pretty good osprey nest up on a telephone pole. They'll make pretty large nests out of sticks. And these guys will often return to the same nest and keep adding more and more sticks till it gets really big. Some birds like bald eagles can have nests that are 6 feet across. So as wide as maybe your mom and dad is tall, or you are tall. So 6 feet is pretty wide. All right. You have birds that might actually live underground in a burrow, like burrowing owls. We've also got cavity nesters, so those could be like woodpeckers that actually peck into the tree, find a cavity, make a cavity, or maybe just find one. Like a lot of owls will nest inside cavities or holes in the trees. So those are just some different behaviors things that birds might do to protect their eggs. So we talked about how they build their nests, and we looked at some eggs that camouflage. I'll show you a couple pictures. Again, all the pictures that I'm showing you today you'll be able to access in the links with this video. So I didn't show you, we talked about the killdeer and how it will pretend to be injured to lead people away from its nest. But you probably can't even see in that picture with all the rocks, there's actually some killdeer eggs. So they look just like gravel. And you'll be able to, I would go onto the link and look at these and see if you can spot those eggs. So they camouflage really, really well. Same with our meadowlark and turkey eggs in the grass. But not all eggs camouflage. Some eggs are brightly colored. So this is a robin's nest. Robins have those brightly colored blue eggs. You'll notice in the middle of this nest, though, there's an egg that doesn't belong. So in the middle of those 4 blue eggs, there's kind of a speckled egg. And that is from a brown-headed cowbird. So brown-headed cowbirds, they're just kind of a brown bird, pretty plain looking, a little bit smaller than a robin. And they have a pretty unique adaptation, kind of not very nice to the other birds. Brown-headed cowbirds, they don't build their own nests. They like to steal other birds' nests and make other birds do the work of raising the babies, the chicks. So they will lay their eggs just like in this picture in the nest. Ooh, eggs rolling away in the nest with another bird's eggs. And then that mama robin, she would raise that cowbird chick just like it was one of her babies once it hatches. So sometimes you might hear them called a brood parasite. So a brood parasite would be an animal that's like the brown-headed cowbird, and it makes other birds or other animals raise its young. So another interesting adaptation that a bird has to protect its young. So that's all we're going to cover in the video today. I just wanted to share with you some of the things you'll find in the link that you can do on your own. The first activity is called Adaptation Artistry. So just like at the beginning of this, I asked you to think of a bird and think of its adaptations, where it lives, what kind of beak it has. In this activity, you'll be able to draw and create your own imaginary bird. So you'll find the worksheet in the link. So you'll come up with an imaginary bird name, its habitat where it lives, and some adaptations and what it eats. So your bird could live in the desert, it could live up in the Arctic where it's cold, it could live in the mountains, or if you want to get really silly, you can do that. So I got kind of silly with mine. I named my bird the Disney Con. Its habitat is Disneyland, and it eats ice cream and hot dogs, things that tourists to Disneyland would eat, so things you'd eat at Disneyland. So adaptations, my bird, if you can see my bird right here, he's brightly colored because most of the rides at Disneyland have lots of bright colors. He's swooping down and he's got kind of a scoop-like beak to scoop that ice cream right out of that poor man's hand. And the top's kind of long and pointy so we could maybe spare a hot dog. And I also decided that just like the osprey, maybe I forgot to mention, the osprey has a reversible toe. So one of these toes up here can actually move similar to your thumb from front to back to help him grip those fish. Well, I decided my imaginary bird, the Disneycon, has a reversible toe just like that too to help him grip onto the food that he steals from the poor unsuspecting visitors at Disneyland. So you can be really silly, make a habitat something funny like a bowling alley, or do a more real habitat like a wetland or something like that. Some other activities you'll find in the link, all these pictures, as well as some more pictures, so you can look at some different bird nests and eggs, see if you can find the camouflaged one. There's a link on there to a site called Project Nightjar. So Nightjar is a bird that's active at night, and it's also really good at camouflaging. It nests on the ground, makes kind of a scrape in the ground like the killdeer, and those eggs are really well camouflaged. So scientists at a university in England are actually studying that, and they need your help. All you have to do is go to that project and play an online game. See if you can spot the nightjar and eggs and nests. They're using that information from you guys playing that game to see how well camouflaged those nests are, and how easily predators can find those nests So it's kind of a cool citizen science project that you can get on and be involved in just by playing a game. Some other things you could try if you don't already have a backyard bird feeder. It's really simple to make one out of things you would find in your house. Empty milk jugs, popsicles, sticks, egg cartons. You can be creative and make a bird feeder and put out in your yard. Watch those birds. If you don't have iNaturalist, it's an app you can download on your phone. It's really cool to help you start learning your birds. And you can look at all those adaptations we talked about. So all you have to do is take your phone and take a picture of the bird and upload it in iNaturalist. And that's a really great way to get involved. Scientists also can use that information. They can log into iNaturalist and look at what's being seen in different areas and use that for their research. Last but not least, just get out and look for birds. So take a little birding field trip. That could be to a trail up the canyon, your favorite park. Or if you're up for a real adventure, head down towards Brigham City, about a half-hour away. There's a Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. They have an auto tour route, so you can drive that in your car, keep practicing your social distancing, but see a lot of amazing birds right from your car. So I've also included the link to the auto tour route. So I hope you enjoyed our little mini lesson on bird adaptations. If you're looking for more to do, we will be posting weekly updates on our Facebook page, the Stay at Home with Stokes event. We're also on our website at logannature.org. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.